Why are we talking about payroll? Because we know how difficult it was when you don't have payroll. Okay, and then I'm gonna stop because I'll go off, get on my podium, and then we'll be 2 hours later. But seriously, when you consider and consume this information that we're going over right now, or that you'll catch in a replay, there's a bigger strategy to this entire thing. You want to level up your business. You want to be able to effectively use tools that you're going to need, not only to pay your employees, but just even to unlock some other benefits that you may have been left on the sidelines for. Then that's why you need to be connecting with us and listening and re-listening and sharing, because this is the new trend, is having your stuff together. Between May 2020 and December 2021, I have secured $8,121,009.35 in legitimate funding for Black and minority-owned businesses. My name is Taliba Bells, and I'm the host of the Black and Bankable podcast. Effective immediately, I am coming for more for the community. Hey, everybody. We're getting geared up. I am here with John Brakey Campos with QuickBooks. So if you are still at the W-2 job, or you took a break because you want to make sure that you lock it in with us on this webinar, I thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all know me. You will see this again. We're going to make it a podcast episode. I'm going to make sure that I pump this information out to you. If you register for the event, you'll be able to come here, or either the Facebook group, the 100 Black Businesses Bankable Initiative, to get the recording of this. But let me tell you something. This is first of many. I was just chatting with John before we get started, giving you guys time to still pop in. I was just chatting with John about next year's Black and Bankable CEO Summit. And we're going to make sure that we talk about QuickBooks Payroll with John in January of next year. So if your business is not ready for payroll right now, then guess what that means? By the time the Black and Bankable CEO Summit starts in January, it'll be ready, right? Because you're going to be writing all these notes down and working towards that goal, so that when January comes, you'll be ready to ask the specific questions as it relates to what we're going to be going over today.
Keeping your books in order alone is hard enough. Never mind running a business. If you are currently doing your own bookkeeping, you know working with numbers doesn't necessarily mean that you understand them. Not being able to see the big picture on top of having to do everything yourself can feel like you're running in place. Don't let your business fail because you can't keep track of your financials or don't have the time. The Bankable CEO Bookkeeping DIY membership gives you the tools you need to get real solutions and real visibility into your finances with guidance from QuickBooks certified professionals. Sign up now. Text DIY to 855-912-1020. That's DIY to 855-912-1020.
So I'm going to jump right in as John goes ahead and pulls up his presentation. If you don't know, my name is Taliba Bells, and I am the founder and CEO of TMB Tax and Financial Services, and my new baby, Access Granted, which is our sister organization and a nonprofit that specializes in providing radically reduced or free tax and accounting services. And we do that by partnering with companies like QuickBooks and some of our other partners, because we feel that it is vitally important for your small business, your small minority business, your small Black business to have access to this type of information and these types of tools, so that you can not only just be in business, but so that you can run a successful and profitable business. And then, right, share it with your other business owners, because we're all about staying in business and making it count with every time we have an interaction. So today I am connecting you with John Brakey Campos. He is a payroll guru, and he's going to share a little bit more about himself and his time there at QuickBooks and on the payroll team. But John is my go-to person when I get my clients signed up for payroll. If I'm hitting him up at the middle of the night, asking him different questions, and some of my clients could definitely attest to John getting them set up and resolving any like tech issues that I may have and just need John's help with. So I figured it'd be like the best thing again for me to connect you guys directly with him, so that you can learn about all of the awesome products that QuickBooks, a part of the Intuit family, can offer your small business in the area of payroll. So without further ado, John, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can share with the audience who you are and then start sharing with us some of this awesome information you've prepared for us today.
Oh, you bet, Taliba. Thank you very much for that warm intro, and thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to, of course, presenting here Payroll 101, talking about payroll. So let's go ahead and dive right in, if we may. So everybody, as Taliba mentioned, my name is John Brakey Campos. I actually work directly for Intuit QuickBooks. I've been with Intuit for about 14 years. I've been in multiple sales roles. I've worked with small business owners, helping them set up with point of sale systems. I've worked with accounting partners such as Taliba, and I've been focused specifically around payroll for the past 7 years now. So throughout those years, of course, I've learned a little bit of tribal knowledge, if you will. So our agenda for today, of course, went over a quick intro. Why QuickBooks Online Payroll? Love starting with that. A payroll overview, how we compare to the competition. We'll go over pricing and special pricing that you guys can actually obtain directly through Taliba and her firm. What's new with payroll, some additional resources, and we'll go through questions. We can leave them towards the end, or if anybody has a question, by all means, chat or raise your hand or whatnot. And just a quick meet the team. So just so you guys know, my partner in crime, Noah Rainey, he's my counterpart while I'm out. And I've got my manager, George Medinian, and then myself, of course, John Brakey. So let's jump right in. Why QuickBooks Online Payroll? So first and foremost, one of the biggest things that I actually talk about on the advantages of QBO Payroll is that your payroll and your accounting is all in one place. So there's seamless integration, right? And there's no double entry of data. Much more robust reporting. We also, of course, give employees access 24/7 to their pay stubs and W-2s at year end. So basically, let's say year end, Taliba, employee needs their W-2 for whatever reason, they can go right into that workforce portal, which is included with all of our payroll versions, and they can basically go ahead and pull down their W-2s if needed. Okay. Yep. We also offer auto payroll. Really, really good for S Corp, C Corp type clients, right? Owner officer run. I get this a lot, very, very popular. We see a lot of S Corps coming about and they're owner officer run. And basically a lot of the time, the feedback that I get is, as an owner, I don't want to go in there every pay period and have to run my payroll. So this is where we'll go ahead and set it. We'll forget it. Not only will we automate the actual payroll, but we'll also basically automate the payroll tax payments and filings that go along with that.
Which is key.
Totally.
Which is key on the tax compliance end, right? So that's what I love getting clients into is, let's talk about payroll. It's a good fit. Let's move forward and let's get you into the actual payroll product that will kind of demystify that anxiety, right, John? Because a lot of business owners, when you start talking about payroll, for whatever reason, at least the audience that I talk to, there's this anxiety. And so QuickBooks Online with their auto payroll, as well as with, just that full service piece that allows the QuickBooks remote team to keep you compliant, I mean, hands down, it is definitely something that you want in your life, in your business life.
Totally. No, you know, one of the biggest things, I mean, business owners don't get into business thinking, oh, I want to do payroll, accounting.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun, right?
Exactly.
It's like the last thing on their minds.
The last.
It's all about, hey, I've got a dream, I've got a vision. I want to focus on growing this business. And the last thing they want to do is be tied down to payroll. And that's where Intuit Payroll really wins and shines in that regards, because just like you said, I mean, it's demystifying that tax component, that tax liability, right? That the IRS and the state agencies expect that you got to be on your stuff to make sure you know what to do. And in this particular case, that's where we're taking on that responsibility and that liability, so that the clients themselves, they can just focus on, hey, let me run my business, and I know that payroll's taken care of.
Yes.
Right? On that end. We also offer embedded time management through QuickBooks Time. You guys will see as we go through at our premium and elite SKUs, we actually do provide ways for employees to be able to track their own time, right? Which is perfect for, let's say you've got contractors, right? Job costing, allocation of labor cost. And not only that, but more importantly, knowing where are my employees, are they clocked in, how long have they been on, you know, work and things of that nature. This is the good old fashioned way of doing things, which is, hey, I've got a trust system in play, or I'm basically just handwriting hours down, right?
And you know, why is it more efficient? I mean, I think, you know, the obvious reason is, you know, yeah, we can go on a trust system, but it's just simply more efficient, you know, from an employee's perspective and from an employer's perspective, for me to just be able to simply pull up my phone, log into QuickBooks Time, and it's done. You know what I mean? And I know that Time can even send you reminders to make sure that you clock out, or it's just so user friendly. Okay, go ahead. You
totally. No, there's a lot. The other thing is, a lot of people do not know this, but we are the nation's largest small business payroll provider with over 1.4 million small business clients. Okay. We have a very simple pricing model. You can go online and actually take a look at what our pricing looks like. We include direct deposit. We're very transparent with our fees. There are no hidden fees, and unlimited payroll runs, which I think is huge. And one of the biggest things is we don't actually believe in any type of contracts or long-term commitments. Okay, so everything you do with us is basically month to month. Okay. And then ultimately what we're really trying to do, because over the past couple of years, Taliba, you probably have seen our evolution of payroll, right? And kind of where it was before and where it's actually now. We're really trying to make it a one-stop shop for small businesses, right? To be able to not only be able to pay their workforce, but also be able to, hey, I want to be able to attract, retain, and reward top talent, right?
Yes.
And we know how hard that is in today's environment, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's a national thing based on, you know, I hear it all over the place, a lot of different states. But the big thing is that as a one-stop shop, it's going to be payroll. We also, of course, provide HR. We talked about the time management, but also health benefits and 401k, right?
And it's in big green letters. Because let me interject here. For those that are transitioning from W-2 to full-time employment, and especially, even if it's just you, but especially if you have a family, one of the most common questions I get is like, you know, well, what about benefits, right? Like, you know, health benefits, life insurance. And so that's, John, one of the top things that small business owners worry about when they're making that transition. And then, you know, just even if you just say, hey, I want to start a business and I want to be able to provide myself benefits and grow into or immediately start providing my employees benefit. And that goes to the competitive advantage you were talking about. And I love how QuickBooks has evolved to creating sort of a marketplace for business owners to be able to compare and decide what's going to be the best bit for their business. So you guys can see just in the first part of what we're even talking about, how QuickBooks and the Intuit family really has a good grasp and understanding of the needs of small business owners.
Totally. And with that, of course, health benefits nowadays, 401k, employees, they're now expecting that, right? When they're looking for a specific job or career or whatnot, hey, do they have health benefits? Do they offer 401ks, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to bring this to small businesses, right? So that they can play just like a larger business, right? They can actually afford the benefits and stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and move on. So we'll do a quick feature comparison on QuickBooks Online. We actually have 3 different levels of payroll, okay? So when a small business owner sets up QuickBooks Online, they have the ability to either go with core, a premium, or an elite payroll, okay? I won't go through each of these lines, but a couple call outs here, because I will go into them on our next slides, is that all 3 of them you're able to run payroll in all 50 states. All of these payroll solutions can also be set up as a standalone solution. And what I mean by that is you may have a client, Taliba, that for whatever reason doesn't have a need for accounting or QuickBooks Online for whatever reason, right? But they're in desperate need of a payroll solution because they want to be able to pay their W2 employees, right? This can be set up as a complete standalone, any of the 3 levels of payroll, okay? And then along with that, whenever a new employee gets hired on, as you very well know, each state, there's a requirement of new hire reporting within about 20 days. And I know every state may be a little bit different there, but the average is about 20 days from that new hire being employed or hired on. And all 3 of these levels of payroll will actually complete that reporting, which is very, very critical, okay? And of course, premium is our most popular, but we'll definitely go into each of them. All right. So let's first start with core payroll. So our core payroll, it's our entry level full service payroll. I know our website actually marks it as a full service. What I normally say in this particular case is it is more of a do it yourself or self-serve. And the reason why I say that is the clients that go with this type of a solution, they actually have to set everything up themselves. We do not vet or validate any of the work being done, but once they have everything in place, we will file and pay on the client's behalf their payroll tax liability, okay? But it's solely based on the information that they're providing to us. So if there's anything that's wrong, and you probably know, Taliba, how important the setup is, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's
probably one of the most critical components of this all. And if you've got a setup that's done correctly, well, you can potentially avoid tax notices down the road, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So clients that basically go with this option, again, I always tell them, hey, make sure you're double and triple checking your work for accuracy, okay?
Yep.
Auto payroll can be done with core. Health benefits, of course, we talked about attracting the right type of talent, rewarding and retaining, right? 401k can also be done with core payroll. And then for those that want to use direct deposit to automate that aspect of things, there's next day money movement, okay? So let's say, for example, if I run payroll every Friday, I want to make sure that at the very latest, I'm running payroll on core by Thursday, no later than 5 p.m. Pacific time. And that'll ensure that my employees are actually paid the following day, okay? One big call out with core for any small businesses out there that have or are in a state, and there's about, I want to say about 13 states to date that have some sort of local taxes. Core payroll does not actually support or pay local taxes. So
well,
for
here
anybody,
in Birmingham has local taxes, and so the clients here in Birmingham, we have to do a little extra step, but
right, it's something extra. And I always, when I'm talking to clients, the first thing I'm looking at is, hey, what state are you in? Because I want to make sure that there's kind of full transparency. And I'm in discovery mode. Hey, how do you plan? I mean, there are local taxes. Do you plan on doing that yourself, or so always having that type of a conversation. Okay. But let's move on to our premium payroll. Premium payroll has everything that core has. It is still a self-serve setup, Taliba, okay? So this is where, whether it's you through a service that you offer, right? Or whether it's the client themselves setting everything up, they'll go through the entire setup. The big thing with premium, though, is that there's an expert setup review at the end. And what that basically means is that somebody on our side, Intuit, that does this for a living, a builder, will actually dot the client's I's and cross their T's for accuracy, right? And what we're looking for is, our e-services fully set up? Is the bank account connected the way it needs to be, the payroll bank account? Are the deposit schedules set up and play right? You've got federal, you've got state deposit schedules, you may have state income tax withholding right, and all this other stuff. So very critical. And I would say that premium is probably our most popular payroll service. Okay, a lot of clients actually elect to go this route. Unlike core, this is where you start getting into the time management, right? So for those small business owners out there that either have hourly employees, right? Or potentially even the owner officer, maybe in an industry where job profitability is important and tracking that time is extremely important, right? Or in a professional services per se. This is where that time management is key and comes into play, okay? With that, we also incorporate a element of HR support. Unlike core, of course, that does not have that, you start dabbling in the HR support. And really, the whole idea with the support center is to keep small business owners compliant with labor laws. You know how payroll is an ever-changing landscape, right?
Yes.
It constantly on the go. There's always things that are changing. This will really help your clients stay on top of any changes. We intuitively look at where the employee profiles, where these employees have a presence in and what states. And with that data, we're very proactive. And if anything changes in terms of labor laws, we proactively send notices out to the employers, letting them know of a change and how that potentially impacts their business so that they can actually pivot.
And let me give y'all an example, because during COVID times, there were certain states that mandated sick leave, you know, and just there, all the various nuances that you can imagine when John is talking about that. And I've gotten some notices, you know, even if I didn't have an employee in that state, I've gotten emails from Intuit and from QuickBooks specifically related to something about payroll, again, usually like sick leave accruals or something like that. So it's really important for me to carve out to you guys that, you know, when you decide to say, I want to put myself on payroll, whether it's just you or you're growing into having employees, you know, you want to make sure that you're going into this thing with a full strategy, you know, with a full scope of understanding as to what that means. And so again, when it comes to just diving in and knowing that you're going to have that expert support and you're going to have a foundational base there, so you're not doing it all. That's really why, you know, we tend to go with that premium payroll, at least for new folks to payroll.
Yep, exactly. And just keep yourselves out of trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
More importantly, because we know, you know, the IRS and the state, hey, you make a mistake, they're not as forgiving, right?
Not at all.
So really important. And I think the biggest thing in my experience, Taliba, is that I've managed payroll, gosh, for the past 7-8 years. And clients, you know, I ask them, hey, employee handbooks or custom job descriptions, if you're trying to attract the right type of talent, you know, where are you going? Or if labor laws, you know, things change, where are you going to actually look this up? Because a lot of small business owners, we know, can't afford to have an HR person, right, on staff. So a lot of these individuals are going straight to Google or whatnot. And their biggest fear is, this is HR. How do I know that the answer that I'm getting is the correct one, right?
That's a really good point to bring out.
And here with premium, the content that they're actually getting is always updated, and it's been truly vetted and curated by true HR professionals. Okay, so great peace of mind from that standpoint.
Yep.
Okay? And then, as you know, we also have a workers' comp insurance, and we actually go through our partner Next Insurance. And clients that actually elect to use our partner, we will administer that workers' compensation policy. We will automate basically the premium payments and everything else. It's done by payroll or per payroll versus more of a traditional workers' comp where you true up at 6 or 12 months, right?
Okay.
And if with premium and elite payroll, we don't charge anything extra to administer that workers' comp policy. Okay. Whereas with core, if clients go that route, they would pay an additional $5 per month if they elected to basically have us Intuit administer that workers' compensation policy.
Okay. Very good point.
And unlike core, premium actually includes same day money movement, right? So in this case, hey, geez, I need to cut a paycheck and I want to do direct deposit, and it's Friday, right? And I actually have to pay at this time. As long as they basically get that payroll in by 7 a.m. Pacific, those employees will get paid later that day, believe it or not, or at any given time the prior day. If they go past 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Thursday, the employees will still get paid that following day, normally, later in the afternoon. Okay.
And that's key, especially to emergencies that your employees might have, and I think that you'll cover it, but we had talked about, again, some of the, sometimes your employees need an employee advance, you know what I mean, on a paycheck, or you want to be able to have a system in place in which, that's almost like a benefit, knowing that, hey, I could be here for you in whatever family emergency you have, and you're running it through payroll, and it's all within that same platform. So you're tracking, you're able to do that direct deposit. These are just real life things that you want to make sure you're considering when it comes to choosing your payroll provider.
Totally. And then lastly, local taxes are supported. So those 13 states that we talked about, primarily, again, what comes to mind for me is Ohio, Pennsylvania, Colorado, right? They are fully supported. So not only are we going to basically handle and take care of their federal and their state tax payroll tax liability, but we're also going to take care of the local taxes. Okay. So really, really huge there. And let's go ahead and move on to our newest payroll offering, which is Elite Payroll. Okay. And I call this a complete full service payroll with complete peace of mind. Everything that you guys saw in core and premium is included with Elite. But in addition to that, I've mentioned on the other two offerings where they've been self-serve setups, right? Where it's on the client, or if they're hiring you to actually provide that type of a service, Taliba. This is where with Elite, they can actually get assigned to a dedicated onboarding rep for setup, right? It's a one-to-one working relationship. So in this particular case, let's say maybe you've got a client that is using QuickBooks Online, and maybe they're using ADP or Paychex, right? From a payroll standpoint, but they're dissatisfied for whatever, XY reason, and it's mid-year and they want to move, and you maybe recommend QuickBooks Online Payroll, right?
Yeah.
Well, at that point, you may or may not want to take on that responsibility and liability of having to enter the year-to-date pay history, get all the employees entered, right? Reconcile existing tax payments, right? Because all that has to be done, because basically what we're doing is we're picking up right where ADP and Paychex left off, right? They're not going to be two W-2s that are going to be issued. It's just going to be one, and that's going to be Intuit's at year end. So in this particular case, we actually provide the client with a dedicated onboarding rep. It's a one-to-one working relationship. And this individual, from the moment that they are assigned, they will handhold the client, walk them through the entire setup, make sure it's done correctly. Okay.
And that's important to pull out because, there are other folks, you may be with another payroll provider. We do oftentimes get companies that are with another payroll provider and they're dissatisfied, or they want that full one-stop shop accounting. Everything is in sort of a one login, and they're able to understand and better run their business. But this is very important to pull out, particularly with Elite, because I know, like, a lot of times when you want to make a shift or a change, you put it off because you feel like it's too much work, right? You feel like, you know what? I really hate who is doing my payroll, but I don't, like, where do I start? Like, how do I pull in my prior payroll totals, so forth and so on. So, we want to add that real piece to it. If you're dissatisfied with your payroll provider, or if you know that you have some hand-holding in the sense of bringing in prior data, then, this may be the option for you. But it's important, I think, and I'm glad that John covered it, that that it is an option. So if you've been putting it off and that, hey, I want to go somewhere else, then that you have an option now. So, stop putting it off, and QuickBooks will bring in your prior payroll totals and allow you to still be able to run your business and not just like stop everything simply because you want to switch payroll providers.
Yep, no, exactly, Taliba. And the biggest thing, I mean, I think you hit on it, right? Where, hey, that small business owner does not want to obviously enter all that information. It's a lot of work, right? And
It
again,
is.
we'll go back to that small business owner that, hey, my forte is not payroll, right? I didn't get into business to do payroll, so I have no clue what I'm doing. For those types of clients that really want that hand holding, that's where Elite definitely comes into play, right? In that regards. And after we've basically done all of that, right? So we've entered all of the year-to-date pay history. We've reconciled existing tax payments and whatnot. We've got all the pay rates, the accruals on time off and all that stuff, right? We're then going to basically do a review of our own work, okay? Once we've reviewed our own work through that expert review, we're then basically going to activate the tax penalty protection guarantee that comes with Elite.
Oh,
And this is where that
talk about that.
yes, definitely. And that's where that complete peace of mind comes into play. What that really means is, hey, there is no finger pointing. If there is a tax notice that comes through that the doorstep of that client, they're not even going to have to think about it. They're simply going to grab that tax notice. They're going to forward it over to us into it. We're then going to fully work with the proper agency at the state or the IRS level, right? Or local for that matter. And if there's any resulting penalties and interest, as long as that Elite tax penalty protection guarantee is active, we will reimburse the client up to $25,000 a year in penalties and interest, regardless of who's at fault.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that we need to say that for the people in the back, because let me tell you, I have definitely either new clients or either clients that have been in payroll for some time, inevitably you're going to get a tax notice. And I think it's important to point that out. So even when you have a payroll provider or somebody doing your payroll, it's possible that something is going to happen. It has a tax notice that comes in. And, immediately when you get that, you're in panic mode, like you said, or finger pointing mode or whatever mode. But the tax penalty protection guarantee and knowing that, hey, I have a team of experts at QuickBooks that's going to handle this for me. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Complete peace of mind. Yeah. And that's why I say it's complete peace of mind in that regards. Elite also has the time management through QuickBooks Time. The big difference here is you've got additional features. I'll go back to the job or allocation of labor cost, right? I'm a contractor. I've got multiple projects going on. I want my employees to be able to clock into those respective projects, right? Because I want that time allocated, not only the time, but I want to allocate that payroll expense because I want to know down to the penny, to that last penny, what my job profitability is on XYZ project, right? So
now, John, I got a question coming in perfectly about QuickBooks Time. And so I know the answer to this, but I don't know if you have a slide on QuickBooks Time, but the question is, I have contractors, you were just saying it, and I would like the ability for them to track their hours. Does QuickBooks Time allow 1099 contractors to also to be used during the business?
Totally. And that's a very good question, Taliba.
Okay.
They certainly can. I've seen in multiple instances, very common where a small business owner has both W-2 employees, but they also have independent contractors, right? Those 1099s. And what basically happens in that regard is they're able to go ahead and use QuickBooks Time to track that time. The only difference is that those hours, because as we very well know, it'll bring the hours, it'll show the hours, but then it's ultimately the business owner that then just has to, calculate with the pay rate and obviously the hours and then just enter what's that total pay, right? But they can totally do that. Okay.
Okay. Because I know back in the day, there was like a separate time tracking piece within QuickBooks for contractors. But I think that whole improvement with QuickBooks Time kind of eliminated that and at least had it in one sort of digestion with your W-2 folks and your contractor folks so that you can kind of keep a better grasp of it. So I definitely thought that was a really good question. And y'all, please feel free to, you can send me a direct message or you can put in the comments. I see a few more folks have joined us. Welcome. Thank you. You please put your questions in the comments and I'll ask them or however you want to communicate that to us.
Awesome. But what I was mentioning is that job costing client, right? Where what Elite Payroll is going to provide to them on the time management side of things is the ability to create geofences and track project progress to plan. So on the geofence side of things, what that basically looks like, Taliba, is let's go back to, hey, I've got 3 ongoing projects right now, right? What I want to do with the geofence is I'm going to create a boundary on each of those projects so that when my employees get to that job site, there's a push notification on their smartphone that reminds them to clock into that project. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes, because we know, hey, especially when we're just getting them accustomed to trying to, use the time management where, hey, they will forget, right? And this is a great reminder to, in essence, hey, you get within a couple feet of that boundary and you're going to get that push notification as a reminder, hey, make sure you clock in. Same goes when they're actually leaving that job site, right? They'll basically receive that push notification. Okay. And on the track project progress to plan, it's basically you're using budgeted hours. So there's a lot of small business owners where they don't want that main general foreman or whatnot, or the crew lead to actually have access to the financial component of things, right? But what they do want to do is maybe say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and create, this project should take X amount of hours, right? And at that point, basically, they can set that up and then see where they're at from an hour standpoint against the actual budgeted hours that they had initially put in. Okay. So huge there, where again, financial component doesn't want to be seen, but I definitely do want to make sure that the crew lead knows exactly where they're at from an hour standpoint against that. Okay.
And why the heck is all this stuff important? Just again, it really is making your small business an efficiently running beast. You know what I mean? Because we know we don't have time to waste and we don't have money to waste. And when you are engaging in a project, you're trying to run your day to day, you want to make sure that you're not leaking all over the place, in money that you vitally need, especially if you're paying out of pocket, you're trying to get funded, whatever the case may be. And so these features, allow you to, again, have the ease of mind to say, I'm ready to bring on employees, because a lot of times we don't want to bring on employees because we don't feel like our systems are in place. Right. Let's talk about that. It's, hey, I need some help, but oh my goodness, I think I want to do 1099. Well, how am I going to track that person's hours? And then I've even had some folks resistant to the QuickBooks time piece of logging in on your phone, because it's like, well, wait a minute, can they log in from their house? Right. You know what I mean? And so, the geolocation that you just described gives you that peace of mind to say, well, no, you know what I mean? It's within the boundaries, right, that they can log in. So let's think about this information that John's going over today, even if your business is not there. And that's the importance of this. Even if you're not there and you've been inside your head, like we tend to do, just spinning stuff around. I know I do it, spinning stuff around in my head, thinking, that it has to be, like I got to have the answer. Well, here's some information to help you pin your ideas to some capabilities that you can grow into, or that you've been putting off because you felt like you didn't have the systems in place. So this is a lot bigger than just simply choosing a payroll provider.
Totally. And I think you hit it as far as the number one thing that I get asked is Big Brother, right? Or in this case, how do I know that my employee isn't actually clocking in from their home, right?
Yeah.
So to your point, yes, geofence is one, but the other thing, and this is included in both premium and elite, okay? The GPS tracking, okay? So geofencing, creating that boundary, GPS tracking. And here's the thing, guys, with GPS tracking, you can set it up where the only time that the employees will actually be tracked is when they actually are clocked in. So the moment they clock in is where that GPS point is going to start. And then if, maybe I kind of either deliveries or again, I'm a contractor and I go out to projects, right? There'll be those breadcrumbs so that they can actually see where the individuals have been. What comes to mind for me is HVAC maybe. And hey, an emergency comes up. Well, I, as an administrator or dispatch, I can log in to the time management and I can see who's clocked in, where they're at. So I can find maybe the closest individual where I can route them over to that place, right? In the event of an emergency.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Right? On that end. And then the other thing is, we know that there's a component of HR with premium What Elite does is it amplifies it. And not only does it give them a support center where they can have access to all the different forms. I just hired, a new hire. What do I have to have them fill out? I need to
Yeah.
terminate somebody. What do I need to do? Right?
Yeah.
Things of that nature. With Elite, they're actually going to get that, but they're also going to get direct access to an HR advisor where they can call in or they can chat with these individuals.
Okay.
And let's go back to what I had mentioned earlier, which is, hey, that employee handbook, right? Maybe that small business owner has something, but man, it hasn't been modernized for a while, right? Needs a little bit polishing up, and let's dust it off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And they may not want to go through a wizard that premium will give them that will, in essence, allow them to set up that handbook, but they maybe want to talk to somebody, right? And that's where something like this would come into play. Going back to custom job descriptions, right? Where, hey, I want to attract the right type of talent, but I want to talk to somebody about this, right?
Yeah.
Again, that's where this will come into play. And the way I look at Elite is, hey, a business that's growing, right, and needs maybe a little bit more functionality and more assistance in that regards. Great fit in that.
Yep.
Okay. On that. And we did cover already the tax penalty protection guarantee. Local taxes are fully supported with Elite. So both Premium and Elite support local taxes, okay, in the same manner. One other big call out is that Elite is really good for that multi-state employer. Hey, I'm a small business owner, and I may have a presence in 3 or 4 different states, right?
Yep.
Core and Premium, and even Elite, the home state, so that monthly base price, which we'll go over shortly, includes the home state. Okay. But on Core and Premium, if I'm a multi-state employer, any additional state, I pay an additional $12 per additional state per month, right? Elite, there is no additional fee in that regards. Okay, so you can have a presence in 15 states. You're not going to actually have that multi-state additional state fee per month. Okay,
that's a good thing to point out. Yep,
totally. And then hey, if I'm a multi-state employer, I may know my own state and what those laws look like, but in any other state, that's where I am not very well versed, right? And this is where we take kind of the myth and everything else out of that. And hey, we're going to go ahead and support them. The clients, just to be very clear, it is their responsibility, or maybe through a service that you provide to Taliba, they have to go out and register for those state IDs, right, themselves. But once they have them, they can enter them into the QuickBooks payroll, and then we will fully take care of any payroll tax liability in those additional states, along with any withholding and unemployment as well. Okay.
Wonderful.
And here, just a quick comparison showing how we actually compare to our competition, right? And I think the big players that come to mind are your ADPs, Gustos, Paychecks, and Square, right? I won't go line by line. The big call outs are at the bottom, though. We talked about that tax penalty protection guarantee covering up to $25,000 a year, right? Through Elite Payroll. Nobody else in the industry has this as of yet, right? Huge. The same day money movement, giving customers flexibility on when to actually remit payroll. Okay? Workers' compensation, just as an example, ADP can charge $22 a month to manage that workers' comp policy. That is included with Premium and Elite Payroll, right? And then one of the biggest things that I see is the monthly payroll service. So a lot of like the ADPs and the Paychecks of the world, which are really good companies, right? They actually, ADP manages into its payroll. That's how big ADP is, right? We don't manage our own payroll, obviously. But the big thing is that they charge per pay run, right?
Yeah.
So I can basically be an employer that pays weekly, but geez, I am now forced to maybe pay every other week or maybe once a month because it's going to be a higher fee if I'm using one of these companies.
And they're not the only one. They're definitely not the only payroll provider that does that. And I know I have some folks chomping at the bits on comparing the prices, so I love that you have this carved out, because another thing that I love is transparency and properly equipping the business owner. Like, if this is not a good fit for your budget, it's not a good fit for your budget, but at least you have the information to compare and make that educated decision, as to what's going to be the best fit for your business. And seeing this breakdown like this, John, is perfect. And for those who on the podcast will be hearing this, then I'll make sure that you're able to get this information just by reaching out to us and connecting with us. But you really need to make sure that you are, once you've made that decision to say, we're ready for payroll, you want to have some specs lined up so that you can make the best educated decision.
Spot on there. I always, when I'm talking to clients and I'm in full-blown discovery mode, for me, it's all about equipping them with the right information, right? So that they can ultimately make that actual informed decision, right, on what they want to do. And it's all about asking the right questions to uncover, the needs of the client. And then from there, it's not about persuading or anything else or convincing somebody. It's like, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, here's what I actually propose based on the information that you told me. And then basically allowing them to make that informed decision on what they feel is best for them, right? And their specific needs. But big thing is we charge per month versus per payroll, right? So it doesn't matter how many times a month you run payroll. You could be a weekly payroll where you run payroll weekly. Your cost is going to be exactly the same, okay, on that. And let's actually get into pricing. So that people can actually, small business owners know kind of what this looks like. We are very transparent with our pricing. You can easily go online and take a look at that pricing. I always hesitate when I go to a payroll provider's website and it's kind of like encrypted or you can't even find what the price is, right? Or you got to fill out the
contact form. It's like, look, just tell me how much it is.
Exactly.
Signing up for like the demo. Like sometimes that's awesome. You know what I mean? But like, if I'm feeling like I got to sign up for a demo for you to tell me how much I'm going to pay, again, I don't have, we don't have time to waste. It's like, what do you charge? You know what I mean?
Let's get to it to see if I can afford it, right? Let's get to it.
Right.
And on our end, I mean, if you look at, our most popular, the premium payroll, it's at $75 a month, $8 per employee per month, right? Now, the good thing is that these clients, the audience that you actually have, small business owners, if they go to our website, they're going to see a specific discount, but it's not as good as the discount that you're actually able to provide to your clients, right? So for everybody out there listening, you look at that QuickBooks solution provider discount through Taliba. She is able to provide a 30% discount off the base price of either core, premium, or elite. Along with a 15% off the per employee fees. So that $4, $8, or $10 per employee per month for the first 12 months. Okay. And again, it's on a monthly basis, no contracts. We don't charge anything extra at quarter end for filings. And believe it or not, we do not charge extra for W-2s at year end. We will, any employee that's been paid in that year, if the client's on core, premium, or elite, we're going to send out those year-end W-2s to their whatever the home address is on their profiles. So we always ask business owners, hey, prior to year-end, make sure that those profiles are up to date because that's where we're going to be sending out those W-2s.
Right. And that's, I think, one of the newest features that, because a lot of times, let's be honest, when it comes to pricing, and also, what I've heard from folks in the QuickBooks ecosystem is like, well, the pricing went up. Well, let's evaluate what you get with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why it's important to have the specs lined up. And usually when a person then is equipped with that homework, then you're like, oh, okay, so this actually is very well priced with what I'm getting, in the services or just really in being in that software, in that ease of mind that we've been talking about all this time. And the other kind of like funny thing that I get when we go over the pricing is a lot of times the business owner's like, wait, so I'm paying double this with company X. And, so it's really that eye opener. And that's a lot of why, I've chosen to partner with QuickBooks for a number of reasons. Is that transparency. And then also knowing that when you have connected yourself not only to a QSP like myself, but a pro advisor, someone who knows the software, someone who can connect you to someone else, if you have the troubleshooting, when you really put this in your budget, and you compare it with, something that you could probably do without in your business, it's really very affordable. And the other thing that I'll say too, is, and this is kind of like a bigger picture, but I get this question about, payroll tax credits. And then you have a lot of other things when it comes to funding for business owners. Everybody that's watching this or listening to this, you know that that's one of the things that I do day in and day out is help business owners get funded. And so we know that the direction right now is for payroll providers, right? A lot of people have asked about that. ERC, what payroll, you have to have payroll. And that's a whole podcast, right? That I might have John come on here and talk with me about, at the Black and Bankable CEO Summit or actual separate podcast episode. But the real deal, y'all know I always have this bigger picture. I got John in front of you to go over this specific in the weed stuff. But the big picture is, let's sit down and talk about the fact, why are we talking about payroll? Because we know how difficult it was when you don't have payroll. Okay. And then I'm gonna stop because I'll go off, get on my podium, and then we'll be 2 hours later. But seriously, when you consider and consume this information that we're going over right now, or that you'll catch in a replay, there's a bigger strategy to this entire thing. You want to level up your business. You want to be able to effectively use tools that you're going to need, not only to pay your employees, but just even to unlock some other benefits that you may have been left on the sidelines for. Then that's why you need to be connecting with us and listening and re-listening and sharing, because this is the new trend, is having your stuff together. So I'm sorry, I go off on a tangent, y'all, that people know I do, but I got to keep it real with you. I'm not going to waste your time. I need to let you know that this is why I have carved out time in my day and worked with John to have time in his day to go over this stuff with you. Not just because to make sales. We know, come on, we're talking about helping you unlock things that you may traditionally never have thought of. And then breaking it down to you and letting you see that it's actually not even as difficult as you probably are in your head thinking about right now. Right, John?
Oh, very true. Very true. Very true. And no, you're right. And again, let's go back to, hey, S Corps, man. It seems like it's been a trend, right?
Yeah.
A very big trend. Over the past couple of years, in my experience, I have seen so many new S corporations, and a lot of these, business owners, again, don't know how to navigate, or, hey, this payroll thing, right? And is it a 60-40 split, right? I got it as an S Corp because I don't want to pay self-employment taxes, amongst all of these other things, right?
Come on now, John. This is why I roll with John.
You know what's up. You know what's up. So again, those types of things. Hey, if I'm an S Corp, I need to be on payroll, right? And then of course I'm going to take distributions outside of payroll as well.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be on payroll, I don't want to take on that liability. I just want to focus on my business. Let's automate everything. I'm going to get paid once a month or bi-weekly. Intuit is basically going to pay my payroll tax liability. They're going to keep me in the know. That's because every time a tax payment or something's going to be made, I'm going to know about it prior to it being made. Absolutely. Money movement for direct deposit, same thing. And that's my cue of, hey, I need to make sure that money's in the bank, right? For my payroll bank account.
And let's talk about that, because you know what? Because I haven't said that yet, and I'm going to say it. Because this is when I sit down with folks, I want y'all to also know that you're the boss of your business, right? So what did y'all just say? Like, is it in the account? Payroll should be used as a tool for you. Not like this thing like, oh my God, like, especially if you're an S Corp, because I do work with a lot of S Corps. And there's this $1 million question. Well, what should I pay myself? One thing, John, and I don't know if you have it in here, is like, because you're the boss, you could say, oh, well, my salary is $50,000 when you set up payroll. Let's say you get the bag and you're like, oh, wait, I could pay myself more. Well, then guess what? You could go into your settings and you could change that. But what are you doing? You're meeting your tax liability throughout the year, so that when you file your taxes, you're not like, oh crap, I made all this money. So that's the other takeaway that I'm getting off script. And John's probably like, oh, this girl, we're in the pulpit. So
no. You
But
go, girl.
seriously, like payroll, you're the boss. This is your business. Okay.
Right.
So when you make the decision that you're going to do payroll specifically as relate to you and your employees, you do that based on a budget and you use it as a combo effect to mitigate your own tax liability. I'm gonna stop.
No, hey, all good content and
Yeah.
very true. Very, very good
Yeah.
stuff. And I like that reasonable salary because that always comes up as well, right? Let's not expect, that, hey, I'm going to pay myself $100 a month or whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not going to fly, especially with, you submitting your tax return at year end. IRS sees a certain thing here like, hey, why is this so low here? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
we can go on in that regards. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what's new, because there are a few nuances here that I'd like your audience, of course, to know about.
Okay.
And one of those now, big thing, agricultural businesses in the past, we never had the ability to take those individuals on. I pay farm workers, right? Okay. Instead of filing a 941, I actually file a 943 once a year.
Yeah.
Well, as of now, as of today, and as of probably June-ish or so, we actually now fully support for new clients, right, that have not turned on payroll,
okay,
but actually do it as of now. They will have access to Form 943, and we'll fully file it and everything.
That's awesome.
And that goes for core, premium, or elite.
Okay.
What we've also done, and you probably know this very well, Taliba, since I know you've helped a few of your clients, but flexible payroll setup and employee onboarding, right? So let's break that down.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had to, when you started payroll setup, you had to go step by step.
Yeah.
And one of those first steps was entering your team members.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? One of the last things that you actually have is that W4.
I love this new thing, because I'm just like, hey, you know what? All you need is your person's email address.
Yes. And I know you're talking about there on that employee onboarding.
Yeah.
With that, what the employer is able to do is either, hey, I'm going to go in and either you have the option as the owner / employer to either self-enter your employees' information, right, by getting that, obtaining that W4, or to your point, Taliba, it's, hey, I don't want to enter this. I want my employee to do so. So I'm just going to add quickly their profile, get their email address, send them an invite so that they can go in there and enter their own stuff. Right. Really.
And it's more secure because, you want that employee to be able to fill out their W4 and their direct deposit information, from the comfort of their home, really. You know what I mean? And it's all a secure way of collecting their information. And now your W4 is in the cloud, if there are ever any questions. That's what I love about it.
Yep, exactly. And again, you can move freely between on the setup side of things. So, when you start the setup, guys, you may get to a point where, hey, I don't have my team's information yet. They haven't submitted their W4 information yet. Okay, that's fine. I can move on to my next task. Maybe I want to connect my bank account, right? Let's go ahead and get that set up. I've got my tax information. Let me get my deposit schedule set up. Let me basically enter my SUI rate, right? State unemployment insurance rate, all that other good stuff. Right. On that. And then one of the things that I just learned actually yesterday is that multi-factor authentication is coming to QuickBooks Payroll soon. Okay. So what that basically means is a lot more security. Yeah. And prior to me running payroll, I'm basically going to get some sort of a multi-factor authentication, a ping to my phone or whatnot. That way they know it's really me or the payroll administrator or whatnot. And then at that time, I'll then be able to submit payroll, because we know there's a lot of fraudsters out there. There's a lot of this stuff going on, and they're getting really darn good. They're getting really darn good.
Harder than we are. And,
they are.
It is really so frustrating. So that's great news. Yep.
So that's definitely coming soon as well. But with that being said, I will end it here with additional resources. I wanted to put this together and just basically let your audience know. We've talked about partners. We've talked about a one-stop shop, right? Now let's basically, hey, who are these key partners or players that John's talking about, right? And we've got direct links to these partners as well, but the 401k is powered by a company called Guideline. You can go directly to their website, and guess what? Pricing is right there. Very transparent, right? Very transparent. But with that, the 401k, hey, we talked about attracting, retaining, rewarding top talent, right? But basically with that, we're going to be able to automate a 401k. So instead of the employer having to move money around to the actual whoever the custodian or whoever's managing that 401k, everything here is going to be automated. Okay, payrolls run, money movement is done. Employer doesn't have to worry anything about the 401k money movement. Okay.
Yeah.
And very competitive, and you'll basically be able to see very transparent pricing. And then our health benefits for vision, dental, medical is powered by Simply Insured. Okay. We partnered up with them years ago, and they offer very affordable rates. The idea here is that the employer, as they get set up and start going through and setting their employees up and everything else, they can then, if they want to actually look at and are curious about, hey, these health benefits, I want to see what's out there, and I want to see if it's affordable enough for my business where I can actually offer these to employees, right?
Right.
And what they'll be able to do is within the payroll, there's a section on benefits, and they can actually, once all their employee profiles are up to date, fully populated, they'll be able to actually navigate and see in my regional geographical area what providers and players are available, and what is the cost going to be look like.
And that's very vital, because I've had folks, again, if you're transitioning from a W-2 job to, full self-employment, which is the vibe right now, you want to be able to compare that. Like some folks, us moms, if you're used to going to a specific doctor, one of the questions I get all the time is, I want to be able to keep my doctor when I, go into self-employed. How much would that cost? And so I'm glad that you're providing this information, because you could just go right onto the website and do your research, let that be a part of your exit strategy. You know what I mean? You don't want to just jump off if having health benefits, which, obviously is important these days, but if that is your number one thing that's keeping you in that W-2 job, and you just simply, are trying to figure out if you'll be able to swing it as a CEO, here's some information for you. You know what I mean? It's all here for you to be able to do your research and line this stuff up and make it make sense for you. If it does, what to do to contact us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, years ago, we would obviously lose, clients here and there because we didn't offer health benefits, right? So it was important back then. It's a lot more important now.
Yeah.
We offer it, and from basically the feedback and what I've seen, pretty affordable. I always tell people, look, just look at what we offer through our partner, use that as a base or a foundation, and then feel free to compare other places so that you can actually take a look, right? Am I getting my money's worth? And then the one thing I did mention is on 401k, we know that there are several states that are actually mandating that the employers with 5 or more employees, what comes to mind quickly is California, right? They've got the California Savers Plan. We got ahead of the game, and what we're doing now is during the setup, we call out 401k and we ask the employer, have you set up a 401k yet? Right. And especially if they're in one of those states where the mandate is already in play, right? That way they basically know, hey, look at what we have to offer in that area. Feel free to shop around. We're very confident that, hey, through guideline, you're going to like what you basically see, and then hopefully offer a 401k to your employees. Right?
Or yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
These are power moves that you, as a small business owner, just of one, you know what I mean, can absolutely be offering and have through your small business, and then powered by the QuickBooks and the Intuit ecosystem. These folks get it. They've done their research, and I believe in working smarter and absolutely not harder. And at least all of this stuff is aligned, within that same place for you, because we are, again, busy and really don't want to figure this out. We just want to do what we do best, and that's what we're in business for. But here today, you've learned a lot of information on how payroll, is a fit for you, and then who to go to break it down even further if you have questions.
Exactly. And then HR services, that we've talked about with the compliance portion, that's actually provided by Mineral HR, nationwide company. They're pretty big. I know that there's going to be more to come on the HR side of things as well. Intuit is investing a lot of money on our attach, specifically around payroll and payments and whatnot. So you're only going to continue to see improvements and additions to payroll. Okay. So that's definitely there. We talked about workers' comp, formerly known as AP Intego, our partner. It's now Next Insurance. And for any of you folks out on YouTube, I know I navigate YouTube and love to watch the shorts and, some other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of stuff from Next Insurance. So they're doing a lot of marketing.
Okay.
A lot of marketing. So that's who, we've partnered up with and are able to provide affordable rates. And this is, I always tell clients as well, because during the setup, it's also going to ask them, do you have a workers' comp policy yet? And if you don't, go ahead and without any commitment whatsoever, get a quote from our partner so that you can at least, again, let's go back to that foundation, right? Hey, I know kind of what to expect now. I'm gonna maybe compare and shop around a little bit and see kind of what's out there, right? And then make that informed decision at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I see you, Kira. That's a big one. Paying. So like I said, a lot of questions that we have on the front lines from business owners is, like, how do I pay myself? When is it a good time to pay myself? And so, this is, if you're in that thought pattern right now, I do strongly encourage you to sit down, obviously with an expert like myself, or just, make sure it's someone that is vested into the quality of your business. You know what I mean?
Trusted advisor.
Like, a trusted advisor, because it's so easy to just, make a YouTube video and put some money into ads and come off as a subject matter expert these days, but so make sure that you are with a trusted advisor and that person really has your interest in mind, your business at the forefront, so that you can determine, hey, this actually is a good fit for me from a tax perspective or from a legal perspective, to have payroll. And then ultimately, from I'm leveling up and scaling my business perspective. And so I do have a payroll webinar that we did in the past that's still very valid, that walks you through sort of that fundamental process in the sense of, here's your business entity structure. Does payroll fit for you? In that payroll webinar, I talk about, maybe S Corp is the fit for you. Maybe employees is the fit for you. So John today is really sort of like, he said payroll 101, but it's really like a payroll 102 or 201, because we have done that foundational piece of information before. So just reach out to me. It is actually free. I mean, clearly this is free. I told y'all I have a nonprofit called Access Granted. I do own a for-profit firm, but I lead with my newest baby. So this is free stuff. That payroll webinar that gives you that foundational, is this really the fit for me, is also free. Just reach out to me and my team and we'll make sure you get the recording for that. And then you watch these back to back and then schedule a consultation, whatever the case may be. But John is my go-to person. This is not just a, hey, QuickBooks gave me somebody, to come and talk about QuickBooks. No, John and I work together. John's my remote payroll person.
We're connected by the hip, okay? We're connected by the hip.
This is my team member when it comes to payroll. I rely very heavily on him to help navigate and get my clients into these products that we've been talking about. So just know that if you've landed here, you are in the best place. And if you need some of the foundational stuff, then just make sure you message us, and I'll give you that information. And of course, you'll have this recording. And you haven't heard the last from John. John, I want to thank you so much for giving me and my folks some of your time. I know that you guys are really, really busy in the payroll department for QuickBooks and for Intuit. So it really means a lot for me that this is your choice to be spending this time and sharing it with my audience. because, you know, you really have touched on some really good points that gives business owners the answers that I know they have been asking. So if you're catching this in the replay, just like I said, you know, John is my payroll person. He is my person. So if you have a question, I can contact John at any time, right, John?
That's right. That's right.
And,
You know how to hunt me down.
yeah, I know how to hunt you down.
You know where I live.
So even if you're catching it on the replay and you have a question, feel free to put it in the comment section in whatever platform you're going to be watching this on. And if it's something that I can't answer, then John's going to be answering it for you. So thank you again for joining us. I see you guys on Facebook Live. I really appreciate everybody giving me their time. And we will see you later. Have a great evening, y'all.
Thank you, everybody.